right. So basically, James Priestley, people will know you from Series 5, SAS, Who Dares Wins. You were one of 2 graduates that year.
Yeah.
Now, are you winners or are you graduates? How do you view it?
We're winners. Yeah, we're survivors as well, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good one. Survivors.
Winners and survivors. That's what I'd put it as.
So I've been catching up with a bit of it. I watched a couple of episodes today with you guys in, and I didn't really. It feels like, I don't know how it feels to you, but this was only shot in 2020, was it not? This is only last year it happened.
Yeah, well, it was actually 2019, so it was filmed in October 2019.
Yeah.
And then it comes out the February of the year after.
Yeah.
So the hilarious thing is, it was like, for some reason, a monsoon landed in Scotland on October 2019. So that was pretty cool.
While you were there?
Honestly, I've been back since, and there's just one hotel in Rousset, and we went and spoke to them, and they sort of remembered us straight away and said, "Oh my God, that was the worst rain and wind we have ever experienced." Like, they couldn't have the doors open and all this sort of stuff. And we were just like, oh, that's cool. That's quite cool that they've said that.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Well, I was watching the episodes, and it's certainly wet. Like that's every episode. It was rain, rain, rain. So you actually saw that on the thing as well. What was the temperature like? Was it must have been cold up there that time of year?
It was freezing all the time, raining all the time. It was probably just that temperature, that sweet spot before it snowed. Like, that's the sort of temperature you're playing with. But the other thing is, you never really get warm or thaw out, because I remember going to, whenever you got sort of 45 minutes rest or sleep, whenever you were able to have that, your wrists and your hands are constantly just like this. You cannot get warm.
Yeah.
Because you've got this like log burner that's like it's like the size of fucking in the corner of a room. That's just like, it does nothing really. But that's the point of it. It's supposed to be unbelievably hard. So yeah, it was freezing it.
I've always looked at those that little log burner in the room. Does it actually work? Does it even heat that room? It looks like a little match in the middle of like the Millennium Stadium. It has no effect whatsoever. Does it warm the room, or do you have to be right next to it to feel it?
You have to be, to get any benefit from it whatsoever, you have to be right next to it, because in addition to that, you're in like an abandoned farm, so there's no insulation anywhere. The heat, whatever it produces, just goes straight up and out all the holes in the walls and the ceiling. And then if ever anybody opens the door just for a second, that's it. The heat just goes out, escapes. So to be honest with you, you just try and get whatever dry equipment you've got, jumpers, just chuck a couple of them on, because standing next to that fire. The other thing is, you're supposed to keep it going through the night, but everybody is that battered that you just cannot be asked getting up, opening it up and putting more wood in. You know what I mean? Because so it just ends up going out during the night, because everybody is that exhausted. You go to sleep, so you wake up, with a flashbang or whatever, however they take you from 0 to 100 in half a second. And it's just freezing constantly. Yeah, wind, rain, awful, mate.
I was interested, like, did you have a background in sport then? I mean, have you always been a physical person, taking part in sports and fitness, or was it something new?
No, I have, yeah. So growing up, always been into rugby, more the team sports more than anything. So just playing rugby, and that's like an all season sort of thing as well. You've got summer rugby and winter rugby where you're attacking the the weather all the time. So yeah, but without a doubt, you cannot really prepare yourself for something like that. There's really not much you can do apart from go to that location and do those things. Otherwise, you've just got to. It's just this and this that you've just got to keep strong. Everything else, it's all just. Honestly, you cannot really prepare for it, because it is such a unbelievable onslaught attack on all your senses that you've just got to be there to really be able to train for it. There's no other way. that you can prepare. But yeah, to answer your question, just rugby and stuff growing up, running away from the police, usual.
That usually catch and grab from the shops. Was it rugby league? Was it rugby union, the real rugby, or the fake rugby league?
So it was rugby union throughout sort of growing up. But then when I went to university, I started playing rugby league there. So in Hull, and loved it. Yeah, because it's not just the different rules and all that sort of stuff. You've got your different people that play and support the two different games, don't you? So
definitely. Well, I mean, you can't hide. There's a bit of a northern accent there as well. So I thought you'd be well ingrained with the rugby league setup.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, that's it.
And what position were you playing?
So I was scrum half in rugby union.
At 5'10".
I know. And then in rugby league, I was second rower. So weird, a bit like a centre in second row in rugby league. So it's a bit of biff, really.
So how did you prepare then? When you got the call out saying, right, you're going, or is it quite quick? I mean, how do you prepare for something like, or how did you specifically prepare? I know you're saying you can't prepare because it's so unique of an experience, but did you do any fitness beforehand? Did you do any cold baths, ice baths?
Yep, did all of that. So the first thing I needed to do was get experience outdoor swimming, because initially they tell you, well, they ask you the questions and you've just got to take the intel. So they asked quite a few times, are you a strong swimmer? And are you good in open water? Things like this. So it just tells you, right, we're going to be doing quite a bit of swimming. So just round the corner from me, there was like an open water like swimming place. So I went round there, just practice with this guy all the time. He was really good trainer. And then before and after work, I'd just get to the field with friends and I'd just have them on my shoulders and I'd be trying to just go as far as I can. So yeah, basically watching all the seasons up until the fifth season, obviously, all the seasons before, to try and just gather intel on what they're doing and doing all that, trying to do all that, really.
I've always noticed, because obviously each season follows the basic same setup, I guess, with the challenges, but it's always surprising to see how people are still to this day caught off guard with the challenges, which you should know that are coming up, but I guess they're so exhausted and so in it that you forget what's coming.
You're right. I think it's a little bit of that, but also some people are just naive, so they've got through. I'm not taking anything away from anybody, because the physical test to get onto the show is really difficult to just pass those. But if you have a good backstory and you just sort of skim through the tests, you're going to make it, because the TV part of it, it's just how it is. The TV part of it is more important than having the fittest people on there and trying to break them. So the two guys you saw that sort of quit within 15 seconds, that was just pure naivety and just totally being unprepared. And I'm sure that one of them was saying, oh, I haven't even watched it before and things like this. And you just think, why have you come here then? Do you think you're going to win and you don't know what's coming? And yeah, just the shock of it. Again, they were both physical guys, but the shock of it just braves you mentally, and they just thought, I can't do this. This is the first few minutes, and we've got another 2 weeks of this. So yeah, it just breaks people. Like you said, there's some people were just a lot more prepared than others, but you have to prepare yourself mentally for the shock of things as well as physically. And yeah, some people just fell down with that.
I know it's they kick off hard straight from the offset. It's challenge. Does it get easier? I know that sounds silly. I know it sounds silly, but does the intensity dip slightly? I mean, the challenges are still just as hard, but it's not as intense as the start.
Well, on the contrary, what they do is they tell you every hour that passes is your easiest hour.
Right.
So they always say, we are going to ramp it up now. It is going to be 10 times worse. Tomorrow, get ready. Make sure you eat a lot of porridge in the morning, because get ready for tomorrow. So each day is harder and harder than the one before it. Again, because they're trying to attack you mentally and break you down as well as physically. Because if you have given it your absolute all on day one and they've said, well done, you've got past the easiest day, then people just throw in the bands. They're just like, I can't do it. But that's the reason why they do it, because they want people to go, you know what, I'll just keep going until I can't go anymore. Yeah, I gave it my all. But to answer your question, every hour that went by, the next hour was twice as hard. And it's tough without, you being there or speaking to the cameraman or anything like that, because I think they compress every hour into a minute or something like that of footage. So it's tough to show you really just how unbelievably close to impossible it was to just get through every day.
How did you get through every day? What was sort of motivating you to keep going?
You know what? You become somebody else. So you go into survival mode. The second you're there, it's okay talking to people and things, but even like I was so finely tuned with my energy, reserving my energy, that I didn't want to move my mouth and speak to someone because that would waste energy. So I was just on my own, going to sleep whenever I could, as much as I could, because I had no idea when they would be coming back. So that was one of my first sort of strategies to keep going. The second one is a bit of arrogance, you do need it. So I saw all these people, they're all in better shape than me. They're all CrossFitters, they're all super fit. And you look at me, I'm just this chubby guy. So I knew they were all in better shape than me, but I just told myself, I am better than you. I'm going to beat all of you. Nothing is going to stop me winning this competition. So just sort of shutting yourself off, going into a bit of a dark place, into survival mode. So you've just got your raw sort of abilities on show. That's it. And you don't think about anything else. That's what pushed me through every single hour.
What I find interesting is, so I think Ant Middleton at the start of the show, he says, we're going to strip them down, we're going to their bare souls. And so it's sort of implying that, they're going to get rid of any ego that's there. But then it's almost like you used maybe an arrogance or maybe an ego to get through it. How much do you feel that ego is important to getting through? But then also it could be quite the opposite effect. Did you see anyone there with egos that because of their ego, they failed?
I don't know whether it was because they failed. And I won't name names, but there were a couple of tossers on there. I just thought,
right.
I just thought, fuck me, you're not a team player. So I think there is a spectrum of having an ego, and it's good to have it for yourself to keep you going and to be a leader and to be strong for other people. But if you go a bit too far and you're just for yourself and you're not a team player, it's finding that spectrum where obviously everyone in the SAS is like the perfect combination of intellect and savagery, but they've all got to be leaders, and to be a leader, you do have to be so confident in yourself that it's a little bit arrogant. So yeah, I don't know whether it was their downfall with a couple of them, but I do know for a fact that the team won't have rallied around these two people that I remember, because I just thought, even in myself, fucking hell, if you get in trouble, I actually do not want to help you because you are so arrogant. So it's finding that sort of, that sweet spot where you've got it in yourself, but maybe try not to show it to everybody else. Just keep telling yourself, I am better than all you lot. So don't worry about what happens. I'm better than you. But then when people are in trouble, being a team player as well.
I mean, I'd call it a confidence. It's a confidence rather than an arrogance. It's whether you believe it or not, if you tell yourself that, it's going to give you the fuel to keep pushing forward. I mean, you had some I was watching about Series 5 is one of the best series, I think. I think you had some great characters on there, personalities. You had Pav as well. Pav, cracking guy, also involved with ROKMAN. You've had Kim, Chris, and there were some really physically fit people on there. How important is the team around you to keep going as well? Because obviously you're all there as individuals, all wanting to pass as individuals, but how important is it to work as a team and support each other?
It's so close to second. It's almost as important as your performance as an individual, because people can bring you down if everybody's being really negative, because it's such a negative environment that they will pick off the weaklings, and then they won't want to be known as being weaklings because maybe the part of the world where they're from, they're the strongest. But then now all of a sudden they've come to this competition and they're being picked off as the weakest. So it's this kind of culture shock, reality check, and they maybe start bringing other people down because it makes them feel better. So you've got to obviously be confident and, like you said, and be confident in your abilities. But if you don't trust the people around you to support you, and a lot of the team stuff unearthed a lot of selfish people. So, for example, again, I won't name any names, but there were some lazy fuckers on the log carry. So it was like, I'm not exaggerating, close to 200 kg was this log. It was so heavy, and rightfully so. It's not going to touch everybody's shoulders because there's people shorter than others and all that sort of stuff. So there's a flaw there in that test didn't test everybody equally. Some people got tested and a lot more pressure was put on them than others. So if you were a bit too short and it didn't touch your shoulders, you were given the bags, which were 40 kg each. So you put one on your front, one on your back, and maybe try and carry one, and you'd lead the way sort of thing. Whereas I was thinking, I would love to have the bags. Give me 4 or 5 bags and I'll run ahead with them. Do not have this log though folding me in half, which is what it was doing. Honestly, it's just, and all it took was one person to just have a bit of a break, and you would feel it straight away. It would be carving into you. So teamwork was so crucial that you had to go, right, I'm going to put my body on the line, but you need to do it as well. And there were a few people who weren't, because they were that for themselves that they wanted to reserve their energy. And then lo and behold, what happens? Because the staff have got eyes everywhere, these people started getting dropped. And even to this day, they're saying, I don't know why, you've probably seen it as well. I don't know why I got cut and all this stuff. It's like, listen, there's a reason, a very, very clear reason you got cut. You either weren't coping very well or you were hiding from the work, so they cut you. That's what happens. It's a fact. You've just got to deal with it and roll on with it. But yeah, being a team player is almost, it's not quite there, but it's almost as important as obviously making sure you keep yourself strong.
Yeah. It's those sneaky short people, see? Sneaky short bastards. I'd like you to talk to me about the water challenge, where they made you all get in the water, and I think there was a point where you and Chris, I think, had been in the water for 15 minutes before, as everyone sort of farted about trying to get to you to even start the challenge. Now I've done it. I did Man v Mountain ages ago. I don't know if you know. It's like I think it's a rat race where you go up and over Mount Snowdon, and then you're jumping in the lakes towards the end, or so in the quarry. Now, when I jumped into that quarry, the cold just took it out of me so much. Like it restricts your chest, doesn't it? You feel like I felt I was going to have a heart attack. I was trying to get out so quickly. But like, you guys were in there for so long. What was that like? And it's probably going to be even colder because it's Scotland.
Yeah, you know what? Well, if you remember as well, when you went into the water there at Snowdon, it's obviously like knives going into you when you get into the water, but it's even colder when you get out. Yeah. So the wind being on your wet clothing and your boots, and the majority of the time, I'm not exaggerating, the staff would just say to you, we'll beast you so that your clothes get dry. So you're that exhausted and you've just wet through freezing. They say, we'll do drills up and down this hill as a favour to you so that you can get your clothes will dry out, with your body heat. Yeah. But yeah, that was that was like a cave swim, which we didn't even get a chance to do because it started getting to a point where people were maybe going to get hypothermia or something was happening with a few of the girls, I think, where that's why we were waiting so long, because we were waiting to go, but the team never came back. And so that's when the medical team, they were like, bloody hell, these guys have been in the water for a long time now. And when you're not moving in the water, your body temperature just keeps dropping and dropping.
Yeah.
And that's when you start obviously going into shock sometimes. So yeah, what had happened is someone had got into trouble. It was either a form of a panic attack or maybe like a small onset of pneumonia, something like that, that they had to save and bring everybody back out of this cave. And then we had to lift this boat up that we had to bring all the way over the mountains anyway. We had to get out, lift this boat up and take that back all the way through whilst they tried to help out these other people who would sort of, you know what, I can't remember whether it was like they got stuck because they weren't strong enough swimmers, because that's the tough thing about the cave, because the waves are coming in constantly. You've got to swim against the waves to get back out. I don't know whether it was that or pneumonia, but either way, it was a very tough task for everybody to swim into this cave and come back out. But yeah, because we were the last team, we were waiting for so long that they said, the health and safety guy says, you're going to have to get them out because it's going to get dangerous now. So that's how cold it was. Yeah.
How did you feel at that? Because I mean, essentially you were in there for all that time for nothing, because you didn't even get to do the challenge. Did you harbor any resentment, or do you have to just sort of let things go and just on to the next thing?
Yeah, of course. Not at all. No resentment for a single thing that happened on there. I just thought, this has happened. That's fine. Let's get out. Let's get to the next thing. And just saying, like, even if they were to then say, actually, get back in, we'll try it again. It'd be like, okay, cool, let's get back in. Just do whatever it takes, basically, and trying to keep that positivity, like, without going, oh God, we haven't been able to do the task or like that. It's just like, listen, it is what it is. Let's get out. Let's do something else. So yeah, just try to stay positive.
What was what was your hardest moment or lowest moment? What was your hardest or lowest moment on that whole course, do you feel?
Hardest moment, easy by far, was the stress positions. Unbelievable. So we've been on the run for 24 hours with nothing but a tin of chickpeas, you know. So you've got, you know, you're totally depleted. Every step you've been in the water whilst you're on the run. You've got to swim to shore with all your heavy stuff on, and then you're just about to gather your stuff and get ready, and the hunter force comes around the corner. They know where you are all the time, so you're never resting for 24 hours. And this is day 11, so you've already been absolutely flogged for 11 days, and then you're on the run for 24 hours. It goes dark, it goes light, it goes dark again. And then they capture you, and then even if I had a Sunday dinner and a full belly and, you know, 10 hours kip, this task would still have been really, really, really hard, because you've got to sit on this cold floor with your legs crossed and hands behind your back and stuff. I remember having my arms like this. Whenever you try and, you know, just have a bit of a break, you just hear it, someone going doof, 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 and then they put a knee in your back and pull your elbows back, and you've just got to keep that position. So you know, not only is it physically breaking you, but mentally, you know that someone is always there and you are never, ever going to be able to get a break, because the second you start to lean or anything like that, someone's there. And not even that, you start to lose your mind a little bit, right? So I was obviously watching the films, which you know about, which was trying to distract me from what was going on. But things like people whacking you in the goggles with the yardstick and ragging you about, stuff like that, didn't faze me at all. That was absolutely fine. But what did faze me, well, it didn't faze me, it just played with my mind a bit, is towards the end, someone started caressing me and started caressing my neck, and then just started caressing my ass. And I had my hands up against the wall like this, and I was thinking, has the camera's gone off and someone just come in and they're just messing with me? Or like, that was the thing. I was like, what the fuck's going on now? What's going on here? So they do stuff like that to make sure they tap into each person's like psyche, because as we were coming down the hill afterwards, it just been playing on my mind. Honestly, I don't know why it was there, because it's not a big deal really. But I said to all the staff as we were walking down the hill at the end, just a quick question. Who was it who was like grabbing my ass and like playing with my neck during the stress positions? And Jay was like, oh, that was me. He said, I was doing that because it happened to me during selection and it bothered me. And he said, they throwing me around, kicking me on the floor, stuff like that. He said, I don't give a shit about. But when people start caressing you and you're not quite sure whether it's a man or a woman or anything like that, it sort of messes with you a bit. So, but obviously that was just a thing that sort of plays on your mind a little bit. But the excruciating agony you are in, because there was 10 of us, I think, by the time we got to the interrogation and the stress positions, and then there was only 4 of us that came out of that, because it's so bad, and people were sort of permanently affected by it when they came out, because your body is in such a unorthodox position for such a long time that it affects your body. People's shoulders had to like get put back into place and stuff. Yeah.
How long do they make you hold each position then? I've always wondered when watching it, because when you watch it, it looks like they're making you constantly change position, but I guess that's just the editing. So how long would they make you hold sort of one position for?
It's tough to say, mate. So I know the total time we were there was like 13 and a half hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, is what we were tortured for and then interrogated. But in those positions, I honestly could not tell you, because it felt like a lifetime, which is why you welcomed it so much when someone dragged you around and picked you up and started leading you out of the room, and you're like, yes, I'm going to go get interrogated. Yeah,
please. Can't wait, yeah.
And I know, honestly, you were like, the training as well that they told you a few days before was try and be interrogated for as long as possible, because it's less time being tortured. So try and speak to them for as long as possible. Don't be like this. Don't be like disconnected with them. Try and speak with them for a long time, and it's more and more minutes that you don't have to be tortured in the room in the stress positions and stuff. So yeah, when they picked you up to take you to be interrogated, it was awesome. It felt so good.
Now, who interrogated you? Because you didn't have the bald bloke, did you?
No, so these guys as well interrogate. They're professional interrogators. They do it with terrorists. I don't know whether they still do it, but they did interrogate terrorists in the UK. So they're so tuned in to what type of person you are. And on the actual program, they said, which was totally right, they said number 1, which was my number. If we get Uzit to go and shout in his face and rag him about, he'll just smile at you. He won't be bothered, because they looked into my background and stuff. They said, so send him to Liz, which was totally the best thing they could have done. Because when I got in front of Liz, I felt really uneasy. Like, she was lovely. She was such a lovely person. Here's a cup of tea, and I wasn't sure whether to take it or not. And here's a biscuit. And I was just like, I'm all right, thank you. Like, I wasn't sure. It was really disarming. Like, and that's why if someone would have been shouting and bawling at me in my face, I would have felt a lot more in control, because I would have pretended to be upset, or I would have controlled the situation. Whereas when she was in front of you being really nice and lovely and asking questions, you couldn't help but answer the questions, because that's just the sort of 2 different contrasts, of how people are affected. Because some people, I'm not saying all women are affected by this, but certainly because they're the like lovelier species, when a woman is getting shouted at, that's bad. That brings like that sort of sadness out of them, so they start pouring out information. Whereas usually, like with the men, it's more when someone's being really nice to you. That's what it was like with me. She was being really lovely, and I just couldn't help but just give her all the information she wanted.
Yeah. I bet. Well, I mean, good job you didn't have that bald bloke. I don't know if you met him during the course. He looks scary. He's one scary looking mother lover, you know?
Oh yeah, big time. And he's the right man for the job. What actually happened was when four of us, and they said, right, you're good now. The next 2 days are going to be the worst you've ever experienced in your life. And we thought, right, well, the series before us, they ended it once you got through the torture phase.
Yeah.
You know, whereas we've got through the torture phase and there's another 2 days. So when we went back into the barracks bit, all the interrogators came in, the bald guy and the guy from up here around Yorkshire and Liz and the umpire as well. They all came in and they said, we've switched all the cameras off. Don't worry about it. They said, we just want to come in and congratulate you guys and just give you a hug because we aren't knobheads in real life. That's what they're saying. Said we all act like dickheads, but we're not dickheads in real life. And we hugged them all, and it was just a real special moment, really.
Yeah.
Because even obviously that big bald guy, just to be stood next to him, is like fucking hell.
How tall is he? He's like 6'4", something like that. He's huge.
I would say even more. Yeah, he's like 6'6". And he comes in and hugs you, and he's like, "Listen, sorry, I was shouting at everybody and stuff. But we've got a job to do." So yeah.
Well, throughout the whole course, do you have a standout moment? Do you have like a favorite challenge or a favorite moment where you felt great? You actually felt happy at one point or anything?
Yeah, there was two. I'll switch the slide on. It's starting to get a bit dark. I won't say.
Yeah, no worries.
There was two actually. So the first one was what's called the cat's cradle, where you had to go over the two ropes over the gorge. And it was Foxy who said, because they were always going, "Oh, you fat bastard," and stuff like that to me. He said, "You're too fat for this. You won't fucking do it." So I was like, "All right, sweet." So then the thing is, it was difficult if you're a heavy guy, because Pav was close to my weight as well. Pav was a heavy, bulky guy, powerful guy, and he couldn't do it because the heavier you are and the more powerful you are, the worse you're going to be at that challenge. So you're already knackered by the time you get over to the middle of the center of the gorge. And then you've got to propel yourself up. And I must have done it about 9 times. And I couldn't get up. And I was running out of energy. And 6, 7, 8, 9 were just really crap attempts because I just had no energy left. But I held onto the rope and I just gathered myself. And they were going, "Come on, fat boy slim," and shouting loads of stuff at me. And then I just like shouted a bit, and I was like, "Ah!" and got up. And then I was like, "Bloody hell!" And then I started going down the rope, and I was thinking, "Yes, I can't believe I've just done it." And then everybody else was going, "Fucking hell, well done. We didn't think you were going to do that." And then they started taking the piss at me again and saying, "Did you picture like loads of pizza boxes at the end of the thing and stuff?" So that was the first good one that I can remember, where it did change it a bit for me, you know, where I thought if I would have failed that task, I might not have done as well in the competition. But the task was about like digging in and not giving up. That's what the entire task was about. So that's what I did. And then obviously the last anti-drowning task, which was, I was the only person that could do it, which luckily, if they'd have made me do a few more, I would have swallowed too much water and I bet I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I think you had to do 15 or 16 times or something, going up and down. And so you've got your hands tied together. And as soon as you get in the water, it's like, fucking hell, you know what it's like. It's like, right, brilliant. It's taking my breath away already. You can't swim because your cable tied together. And then you get next to the waterfall where it's its deepest. And they tell you to exhale until you get to the bottom and then come up, take a breath, and then straight back down and keep it fluid. What I thought, like sort of at number 9 or something, oh, nice one. This is getting a bit easier because the current of the waterfall was pushing you towards the shallow end. So you were going down and you were hitting the sort of bottom a bit quicker, but you're attached to a cable to Foxy, who was also underwater. And I just remember thinking, yes, I'm over like getting a bit shallower here, and then my whole body got pulled all the way back. Where he had obviously yanked you back into the deep end. And I was thinking, fucking hell, try to swim back to the top. So that was the other good one, because standing there in the freezing cold again, you just wet through, you're not moving, you just got to watch what's going on. And that's where it was just the three of us. So it was me, Chris and Kim. And it was, if you can't do this, you're done. And so the second, Kim went first and she couldn't do it, and it cut her, and it was like, right, fucking hell. So then I went and I did it, and I was like, oh, you feel invincible at the end of it, like there's nothing else I can't do now. And then Chris obviously had a good shot, but I think he got cramp or something, or something happened, and he wasn't able to do it. But because he was so fit and he was so good at all the other stuff, they obviously said, yeah, we'll let you pass on this one. And even then, after that, mate, because they play so much mind games on you, they said, right, come over this hill. So we came over the hill to them all, and they said, you see that mountain there? It took me 3.5 hours to get up it the other day, 3.5 hours to get down it. We'll give you an extra half hour. So you've got 7.5 hours to go up that mountain and back down. You've got this like 80 kg backpack on. You're full of water. The water's gushing around in your boots. And we just looked at each other. And, honestly, we looked at each other and we were like, fuck it, let's go. Yeah, let's do it. And then Ant said, so does anybody want a VW at this point? And we were like, no, let's do it. You know, and you've got nothing left. And you just, it's like them fake Ugg boots. That's what your boots are like now.
Yeah.
You're just sort of walking on them like that. And he said, I'm glad you both said that, because you have reached the end. You know, we're not actually going to do that.
So that was one final test. That was one last test, wasn't it? Because if you had handed in your armband, you'd like gutted. That was the end. That was the test.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Little bastards.
I know, and it happened once. They did it all the time, but before the very first false ending they had, false task, someone did. It was Elise, and we had all just finished the first sickener, and it was horrendous. And then we're all freezing, it's raining, and he said, face now, everybody turn around and face the direction in which you're going in. Can you see the boat? And it was like 200 meters out in the water, this boat. That's your extraction. Now let's all get to the boat. So it was like, fucking hell. And then he said, does anybody want to hand in the band? And Elise took her band off and she said, I can't go back in that water. I'm cold to my bones. Like, I cannot face going back into that water. Gave a band in. And then he said, right, take one step forward, take two. So he was walking forwards towards the water. And then he said, extractions compromised, everyone back into the landers. So we didn't even have to go in the water in the end. But Elise had given her armband in, thinking that we were going back in the water.
Just another mind game. But it must come to a point where you've done everything. They've put you through the ringer. It doesn't matter what they're going to give you next. You're going to do it. You know, like, it must get to that point where it's like, I don't care what you have. Go on, just throw it at me.
You're totally right, mate. Yeah, you're totally right. And you know what? That was me from day one, because they step on you the second you get there, and you're in pain the second you get there. Honestly, you're crawling through like brambles and stuff, and you're getting cut up and you're shredded. And you just think, bring it on. What, you cut me up some more. What else? Just bring it on. Yeah. So you're right.
I've got two quick questions before I want to move on to your rowing challenge as well. Let the listeners know about that. But I'd like to know, so what made you apply? What made you want to put your body and mind through all that? And would you do it again?
Good question. Well, the first one is to better know myself. So I know it sounds like a bit cliche, but you don't know whether you're a good person who does bad things now and again, or if you're actually a bad person who just does some good stuff now and again. So I had the luxury, and I still do, of having my own businesses, in that I can be whoever I want to be. So much so that I got lost, and I wasn't really sure what sort of person I was, because I did some really horrible things, you know, growing up and when I was a kid, thinking that was cool and that was the cool thing to do. But then even today, in this day and age, you do think people need to be punished. Like the universe is imbalanced when you come across something and you think, how can they get away with that? So then you start to think, are you still that person that you were when you were a kid, or what sort of person are you? So I'd watched the program, and it was a friend actually who referred it to me and said, I think you'll be all right on this. So I'd watched it. I'd actually applied the year before and I didn't get through. So I applied the year before and did all the fitness tests, passed all that, but I didn't give them my story really. I didn't want to share it with people. Like, the irony is, I thought I was being strong by keeping it to myself, but obviously the irony is that I was being weak by not sharing it, because I was worried about how people would look at me, because, you know, I'm a professional now, I'm a businessman. I don't want to be talking about these things that happened in a past life. And so the second time I applied, I told them everything. And I did all the fitness tests and told them everything. And they were like, yeah, let's get you on. And the whole reason I went is because I'm going to be submerged into an environment where I can't prepare. And the raw person of who I am is going to come out, and I'll get to know myself a lot better, and I'll be with myself and know what I'm capable of and what sort of person you are. And that's what I wanted. I thought this was the only test that can really show me what sort of person I am really, and get some sort of clarity coming out of it.
And did you learn anything about yourself?
Not really, no.
No, it's a waste of time. Yeah.
No, I did. I did. It's about doing the right thing and just being that person to do the right thing. You do learn a lot about yourself. You stop sweating the small stuff, where if you, for example, you didn't get enough sleep the night before, and normally you convince yourself, don't you, I'm going to need loads of coffee today to get me through the day, and it's going to be a tough day. Whereas if you just tell yourself, my body's going to be all right, you know, today's going to be just like any other day. So what that I've only had a couple of hours sleep, let's get through it, and convince yourself, because you know what your body has been able to do on 45 minutes kit. You know, you can do a full 24 hours on the run without any sleep. So this is going to be all right. It's that sort of experience that, you know, ingrains on you. What was the second question again? Sorry.
Would you do it again?
You know
they
what?
Don't pay you, do they?
I would do it again.
You have to do it for free.
Yeah, I would do it again, but only if they brought all the winners back and I was up against all the winners.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, I'd do it again then. I'd go up against all the winners then, because I'd win again, but there would be no point winning again. I just think, what's the point in putting myself through all that if I'm just going to be up against some new recruits? I'm going to win again, so I might as well ramp it up and be up against everybody who won before.
Yeah, of course.
I'll do it again then.
So you are about to embark on a world record attempt challenge for it's the most distance rowed in 24 hours. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
On a Concept 2 rower.
Yeah, that's right.
So why are you taking part on this? Is it a charity thing? Like, why are you putting yourself through hell again?
Why are you doing this?
Have you spoken to anyone? Have you spoken to a professional? Like, no.
I need to go. I'm probably scared of what they'll say.
Have you done anything like this before? Why this challenge?
So when I got back from SAS, I thought I need another challenge. What am I scared of? So I went onto the gym floor, my local gym, and it was easy. I was like, the rowing machine, I hate it. It's so unforgiving. You cannot hide from the pain on that machine. I'm going to have to set a world record on it. I just thought, I've got to turn it into something else. And because I'm afraid of getting on it, because it hurts so much, I've got to show that machine that I'm the one in charge. Yeah. And it's so what if it's going to hurt? Be the best at something that you were the worst at is what I wanted to do. Yeah. So yeah, it's simple as that, really.
So I think the current record is at 307,000 meters, which is, if my maths are correct, 197 miles.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what you're aiming to beat.
Yes, so I've got to average in order to get a break. So if I have a 1 minute break every hour, I should be averaging 13,150 meters per hour. So it's not even you think about a marathon, and I know marathons are a decent pace. This is a decent pace. Like, to just get 13,000 meters in an hour, you're pulling at some pace there.
Yeah.
So to maintain that, so that I can have, because he averaged 12,800 and something like that. So in order for me to have a break, I need to get 13,100 and stay at that. And I get a minute rest every hour. And then I'm just hoping in the last 6 hours, I can turn the heat up and just break away from him.
So that's your strategy. 1 minute rest every hour.
Yeah.
That's insane. It. So what's your training look like? Have you been doing like 4-5 hour rows and stuff like that? Or?
So I'll tell you what, I was training for the past sort of 6 months, I've been training totally wrong. So
brilliant. Because you were saying before we started, didn't we? You spoke to a professional, and this was only 3 weeks ago. You've now been given the correct. Brilliant. Well, at least you got it.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
I know, that's it. Unbelievable. It was like an angel that just came and saved me, because don't get me wrong, I would have still done it. So I'd booked it in for the 1st of October. But then I'd met this guy, and he said, give me 18 months. He said, give me 18 months and I will have you ready to do it. And I said, I'll give you 1 month. That's all I can give you.
Yeah.
I said, I'm good to go. And the whole point I am trying to do this is not to say for people to look at me and go, well, he's trained for 2 years. He's probably going to do it. You know, I won't be surprised if he does it. He's probably going to do it, even though it's a really hard task. I want people to look at me and go, he's not built for this machine. He's built for something else. And also, he's actually not had that much training at all. So I want people to be like, wow, it is total mental strength, like mind over matter. So one thing, I don't know if you know much about rowers. I thought I knew a lot about rowers. I knew nothing about rowers. So the gauge from 1 to 10, the drag factor on the side, that doesn't increase your meters whatsoever. So for the past 6 months, I've been rowing at level 10 because I thought the harder the pull, the more meters I'm going to row.
I've always thought that.
No, that is not the case. It's the drag factor. So professional rowers will put it up to 10 when they're doing a power session because they don't want to fly off the back of the rower. They want to get their watts up and pull it as hard as they can. Now, what it determines is how deep your oars are in the water. So number 10 means your oars are really deep in the water. It doesn't mean you're pulling more meters. It just means your drag factor is a lot harder. So then when you put it to the number 1, it means your oars are skimming the water a little bit. So it's really easy.
Right.
Whereas if you put it in the middle, like 4 or 5, your drag factor at 130, which is the optimum drag factor, which is what I know now, that's when you are most efficient and you're not going to blow your back out. So I'd got up to 6 hours and 10 minutes and I just had it on level 10. Yeah. And I just remember getting off like, fucking hell, like every time thinking, I'm going to have some painkillers on the day. But it wouldn't have, I would have been using all that energy for no reason. It doesn't get you any more meters. It's just a harder drag so that you can yank harder to get your power up, your wattage up, but it don't mean you're pulling more meters. So that is one of the golden things that is brought, as well as, just like you said, you would have thought you just build yourself up to 12 hours or however long, and then you think, right, I'm good to go on the day, but that is not the case. You need to build up your endurance on several different machines, the ski erg, the cross trainer, the assault bike, the watt bike. Build your endurance up on all that stuff and build your power up on the rowing machine. So you're building up those muscles that you use for rowing. So this guy has got me training like 3 times a day. And now I've changed my sleeping pattern. So I usually get up at sort of 1 o'clock, and tomorrow I'll be getting up at sort of 2 and 3 and 4 and going to bed at 6. So I'm training at the gym. I started last night at 1 o'clock in the morning and finished. So 4 hours on the watt bike, finished at 5 a.m. So we're totally preparing so that I can sleep right up until 5 o'clock till next Friday, so that at 6:30 when I get on the roller, I'm good to go, for 24 hours.
Oh, geez. As well, I suppose in hindsight, it's quite good you've only learnt this 3 weeks out. Otherwise, he would have had you doing mad sleeping patterns for 6 months. Yeah, quite lucky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I would have been snapping at everyone through the day.
Yeah.
But
I mean, how do you mentally prepare for something like this? Because I think it, as well as the physicality of it, it's also the monotony and boredom, right? It's 24 hours staring at the same spot.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can replay Transformers in your head, the movie. Like,
you can do that forever.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, it's not that great of a film, but I know it's your favorite. But like,
now that is torture.
But I guess you're doing this in Leeds. Where is it? In Leeds High Street. So hopefully people around you, right, will keep you entertained
right.
and throughout the whole day.
Yep. So there's a combination of that. There's not going to be obviously too many people about during like sort of midnight and bloody 10 a.m. on the high street before the shops open. But we've got an outdoor cinema as well that's going to be there, and a TV in front of me. So we're going to be watching the Marvel films from sort of start to finish.
Nice.
Again, it's for me and for everybody. We've got the cinema there because you don't just want to be watching a guy on a rower just going back and forth. It's boring. So the cinema's there for that. I'm hoping the Marvel films will distract me, as well as there's going to be a second drawing machine on stage. So anybody can come up and do a few meters with me if they want and take some pictures and stuff like that. It's all about just Leeds Mind for charity, that who help people with mental health issues. That's what it's all about. The event is bigger than me and the actual Guinness World Record. It's just about showing people how strong the mind is. So preparing for it, I am saying nothing is going to stop me breaking this record. The only thing is, I want to break it by so much that nobody can break it after me.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that's on my mind. Like, I need to pull as hard as I can in those last 6 hours to get as far away from that Guinness World Record as possible. But nothing is going to stop me from breaking this record. I've got it. It's in the bag. I've got it.
Yeah.
But so no one's broken it in 20. Go on, mate.
I was going to say, so who currently has that record? Are they a rower as well, or is it someone like yourself who's not typical rower?
No, they're a rower, and they did it on. So they rowed in the Navy, and it's a guy called I think it's Stephen Harris, is his name, and he did it in 2001. No one's been able to beat him for 20 years, and he did it on HMS Fearless, I think, one of the ships. He was actually on the deck doing the rowing whilst the ship was out at sea.
That's pretty cool.
He also has the 72-hour record. So he'd been, the way in which you determine a continuous row, as far as the Guinness World Record is concerned, is an hour. Every hour row that you do, you have no more than a 10-minute rest. So for 72 hours, he had no more than 10-minute rest per hour, continuously. So this is the caliber of guy that you're dealing with. He's obviously incredibly strong, mentally and physically. But yeah, of course, he's a natural rower. And when you see pictures of him, he's a lean guy, is how you would picture a rower to be, really, quite tall and lean. My coach has actually said, he's an incredible guy, my coach, absolutely incredible. He's got such a good way with words as well. He said, you're going to upset a lot of people in the rowing community.
I hope so.
If you hope do
so.
this.
Yeah, definitely will. Well, they're going to say, what's this rugby player beating us at our own game for, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. It says you've got people who train from the age of 7 to become professional rowers. And if they see you just come off the street with 6 months sort of training, 3 weeks, professional training to do it, it's going to really upset the rowing community.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is good. I aim to misbehave, it's what you want to do.
So if people want to give you some support, if people want to come down, and also if people want to donate, where can they do that? What date's it on and times?
So Friday the 29th, is when I'll start on Briggate High Street in Leeds at 6:30. The banners will be going up this weekend as well, so people will be able to see, and that's got the dates and times on it up the High Street. And anybody can come from sort of 6 o'clock onwards, because there's going to be interviews and stuff going on stage just before I start. But I would recommend, it's going to be a good atmosphere to be around, I reckon. With regards to fundraising, you can go direct to Leeds Mind. They're a part of the Mind charity, but I've also got the links on my Instagram as well. That you can just click on that and it goes through to the fundraising page. I can share it again as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put your links and all the relevant links below the interview, the podcast, for people to click and donate.
Nice one.
Now I've got a couple of user questions. So a couple of Team ROKMAN members have put in a couple of questions. I've got 3 of them. Then what we'll do is we'll wrap this section up, and then we're going to do a short section. So I won't keep you all night, James. I know you probably want to have a shower after your session. And
it's all right.
That'll be for the good. That'll be for our ROKMAN Plus members. So they're paid subscription members. We'll just ask a couple of questions on resilience and well-being, and it ties in nicely to everything that you've done, and also the charity challenge for Leeds Mind. So we have Amy C. Parker has put through a question. She has said, what was the most mentally tough challenge on the SAS Who Dares Win show?
Had to have been the stress positions. You had no idea when it was going to end, and your body is in so much pain that it plays on your mind. You just don't know when it's going to end. So the mentality of it is you never get a rest, and you don't know when that pain is going to end. You know it's going to end eventually, but you don't know if you have another half hour left or another 10 hours. So that was by far the worst part of the entire program, the stress positions and not knowing when that's going to end.
Yeah. I suppose the benefit with the rowing challenge, it's 24 hours. Like after 24 hours, it can end. Like at least that's ending.
Yeah, it's only 24.
Only 24. We've got coached by JP has asked, what has been your best achievement since the show?
Oh, nice. That's a good one. Oh, that's an awesome question.
I suppose it doesn't have to be necessarily like a physical challenge. It could be anything personal or business related, or.
Yeah, I would probably say business then. So business related, how I've been able to grow the company, but the awards, literally before the show came out. So in October, we did the show. In November, we went to an award ceremony with my business, and we ended up winning the most prestigious award there, which I had no idea we would have even got to, with all the different estate agents and stuff that are around London, especially. We ended up beating them all. I would have to say that, to be honest with you. And the reason why I had to think so hard about it is because how do you top, sort of SAS? And I suppose it's not about topping it. It's more, what successes have you got since then? And, that is such a good question, because you need to keep setting yourself challenges. And if you ask me that question again this time next week, obviously I'll have another answer for you.
The world record, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've taken from the SAS experience into maybe business that has helped help you achieve that awards success?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not sweating the small stuff. So when you know what you can do, and when you know that there's some bad stuff happening out there, you don't need to sweat the smaller stuff. And people getting stressed out about the situation they think they're not in control of, but you are in control of absolutely every situation you're in. The more you feel out of control, the more you're actually in control of it, because as long as you control yourself, you can do it. You can overcome anything. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You can still overcome it day by day. So that's a big thing that I've taken from it, in that you are pushed way beyond your limit on that program, that once you come out, you are without a doubt a new person. You are a different person. And so taking that into business, into relationships with friends or partners or anything like that, you change the way you look at everything. That when every day people experience 10 problems, even more. And for you to just look at them with a bit of a lackadaisy approach, like it's all good. We're going to be able to find a way around this. It's all good. That's a big thing that I've taken from it, not sweating the small stuff.
Bro. Now we've got a Pav from Slough writes, how did you? Yeah, I wonder who he is. Pav, 29, 30 from Slough. Obviously a big fan. How did you view the? How do you? Hang on, let me read. How did you see the show when you came out, and how do you see it now in terms of your journey, personal journey?
Right. Okay. So obviously excitement when it first came out, because you know you're the winner. Now that would have been completely different if I wouldn't have won. I think I would have had a different approach to watching it. Probably would have had regrets, because then you would just beat yourself up a little bit if you didn't give it your absolute all, and maybe convince yourself that you didn't if you didn't win. So the first feeling was excitement. Like I couldn't wait for the next episode and the adverts and all that sort of stuff to come out. Although on the flip side, I was slightly worried about people knowing stuff about me that they didn't know before. So the sort of background that we came from, people I work with knowing that sort of stuff, the initial reaction I thought was, this could be a bit embarrassing. But then after thinking about it and adopting it and owning that sort of past, I thought anybody who doesn't want to deal with me after they hear about a bit more about me, I don't want to deal with them either. You know, if they're going to be prejudicial against my past, I don't judge anybody by their past. So yeah, initially I was very excited about it coming out, really happy with the way it portrayed everything. But I was a little bit worried as well about what people would think of me. But then after a while, I just didn't really give a shit. I just thought, you know, there's loads of people who are just going to hate you for whatever reason. And that's cool. Just let them do it.
Yeah. Is there a question, because we've got Pav scheduled in a couple of weeks' time for a podcast. Is there a question you'd like to put to him?
Yeah, I've got a question. During SAS, he had a boxing match with someone, and I just wanted to know the outcome of that. So if you can put this question to him, say, when you went into SAS, did anybody knock you unconscious during your time there, or what happened? You know, I think that's the question I'm going to ask. Did anybody knock you unconscious, and then just keep it like that?
I will put that question to him, I promise. And that's half the fun, actually. Watching you two on Instagram constantly bantering each other. I get much enjoyment out of that. It makes me laugh. Well, that's the end of section 1. We're going to move on to section 2 in a minute. So before we wrap up section 1, where can people find you? What's your Instagram handles, and if they want to follow you in your progress?
Yep, it's James_Priestley_.
And that's on the Instagrams, is it?
That's on Instagram, yeah. On Facebook, it'll be Jimmy Priestley on there.
And you haven't got a TikTok, have you? You're not one of those dancers? No,
I'm not. I think you just got to come and see it for yourself to believe it, really.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Guys, if you enjoyed this interview and you want to hear more, after this podcast, we record extra sections and extra questions exclusively for the ROKMAN Plus members. If you want to find out how you can sign up, you can go to the ROKMAN Plus membership. You can find out all the details on the website, rokman.co.uk. Thank you very much, James. It's not the end. We're going to move on to section 2.